Attack of the Black Rectangles by Amy Sarig King, a First Chapter Friday read aloud video with the Word Nerd. Today, as you listen, play along. Watch for the story quote that will appear on screen. Write it down, word by word, and then follow the instructions given to you by your teacher. Make sure you stay all the way to the end to see if you've written it down correctly. Hey teachers, try one of these student engagement worksheets. They're linked in the video description box below. Help your students tune in instead of zone out while listening to today's story. One last thing before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Burke's ELA classes at St. Charles School in Heartland, Wisconsin. So glad you guys are here today and happy listening. Hi, my name is Amanda Zieba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd, and another First Chapter Friday video. This week I'm going to be reading to you from Attack of the Black Rectangles by Amy Sarig King. If the name sounds slightly familiar but not quite familiar, Amy also writes under the name A.S. King. So if you've heard that before and you're like, I think I know her, you might. I have to tell you that once I started reading this book, I couldn't stop reading this book, and I absolutely loved it. It is about censorship, but it is about so much more than censorship. And you know that I'm prone to rambling, and I don't want to waste any of your time today. Not that my other rambles are a waste of your time, but I'm just gonna read you the blurb and then we're gonna hop right into it because this book is fantastic and so timely and important and all of the things. When Mac first opens his copy of Jane Yolen's The Devil's Arithmetic and finds some words blacked out, he thinks it must be a mistake. But when he and his friends discover what the missing words are, he's outraged. Someone in his school is trying to prevent kids from reading the full story. But who? Even though his unreliable dad tells him not to get so emotional about a book or anything else, really, Mac has been raised by his mom and granddad to call things out that are wrong. He and his friends head to the principal's office to protest the censorship, but she doesn't take them seriously. So many adults want Mac to drop this and just keep his words to himself, but Mac's about to see the power of letting them out. Um, like I said, once I started, I couldn't stop, and I know that you are going to love this book and have lots of thoughts about it as you do. So let's just dive right into it. Attack of the Black Rectangles by Amy Sarig King. I'm going to start with the prologue. The prologue is a part of a story that comes before the story starts, and usually it includes information that the author wants the reader to know before we begin the story. And so the prologue of this book is called The Adults Around Here. And there's a quote to start it. And the quote comes from a fictional character inside the book named Laura Samuel Sett, who happens to be Mac's teacher. I'm here to protect all of us from the ugly world. That's the quote. According to a lot of the adults in our town, everything here is perfect. We don't have accidents. We don't have any crime at all. We don't have Halloween anymore. Or junk food. We don't have bad thoughts. We don't use any words like cancer or death or sex or donut. A lot of people thank Ms. Laura Samuel Sett for this. She's as famous as a person can get in our town, and probably the only reason the local newspaper is still in print. Everyone reads her letters there. Miss Sett is also a sixth grade teacher, but the adults around here are her students as much as the kids like me who pass through her classroom at Independence North Elementary School. Those adults join Miss Sett in letter writing, sitting on the town council and committees, and making rule after rule after rule. They seem to believe that rules equal safety, and by making more rules, they are keeping us all safe and keeping the town's reputation spotless. Miss Sett thinks that if we even think about bad things, our whole town could fall right off into the toilet of the world, just like all those other towns, she says. The adults around here don't just keep our town safe from unsavory words and thoughts. They keep our town safe from unsavory people, too. And if we believe what the adults around here say, then unsavory people are anyone who doesn't go to church, anyone who doesn't pledge the flag louder than the person next to them, and anyone who eats junk food. Most of us have to go to the next town over to do our grocery shopping so we can buy Cheetos. My family has ignored the town's silly rules for as long as I can remember. We don't go to church, I don't pledge the flag over loudly, and we eat a decent amount of junk food. My mom loves Oreos. I love Cheetos, and my granddad is a bona fide candy freak. Miss Sett wrote a letter to the paper one time about an elderly man who sits on Main Street, always eating candy. She asked for him to be removed for his bad example to children. She was talking about my granddad. Here is what he did in response. He started bringing me with him. Don't get me wrong. We eat really good homemade food too, and lots of fruits and vegetables, and I get a lot of calcium and vitamins and grains and protein and all the other stuff in the food pyramid. There are much worse things in the world than junk food. Mom knows it because she works at a place that helps people grieve the death of their loved ones and helps people with cancer and other terminal illnesses. Granddad knows it because he fought in the Vietnam War. My dad sure knows it because he's always mad at something, like every single day. I just think Miss Set and the adults around here should mind their own business. I don't think any town is perfect, and I don't think any town is in the toilet of the world. I think life is what life is, and we just have to try our best. Life is what life is, and we just have to try our best. You should quote me on that. My name is Mac Delaney. For all I'm about to say here, and about her, and for all her weird rules, Miss Set taught me to stand up for myself, and I'm grateful to her for that. You're probably confused. Yes, Miss Set is a pain, and she thinks we shouldn't eat Cheetos. But also, yes, she was nice to me when I needed it most. No one is ever just one thing, and not everyone is telling the truth. And that's the closest anyone will ever get to perfect. See, it's about so much more than censorship, and it's great. Here's chapter 1. It's called Last Year, Bot Duck Man. We were on the way to Philadelphia with a 5th grade school trip when Dennis and I made up a game called Bot Duck Man. It stands for botfly, duck, and human. Botfly, on account of Dennis's uncle getting one in his arm last time he went to Costa Rica. Duck, because we live in a town with a lot of ducks, and ducks eat insects, including, we figured, botflies. Human, on account of the way Dennis described the botfly coming out of his uncle's arm right by the elbow, and how bad his uncle said it hurt. I am never going to Costa Rica. Anyway, it's just like rock, paper, scissors, and I highly recommend it as an alternative to listening to the tour guide at the Liberty Bell. Stop it! Those were the first 2 words I ever heard from Miss Set. She was a chaperone because the school always had 6th grade teachers chaperone 5th grade trips. Stop it, she said again, and then she moved Dennis to the other side of the Liberty Bell so we couldn't finish our Bot Duck Man tournament. I was winning. Bot beats man, duck beats bot, man beats duck. After the Liberty Bell, we went to Independence Hall, where the tour guide was way more boring than the Liberty Tour Bell guide. And no, I don't have a bad attitude. I've seen the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall 3 other times, and each time, I wasn't impressed. It's not that I don't respect the Founding Fathers, but I do have some problems with how they did stuff. Mostly, how they bought and sold people. I definitely have a problem with that. So when it was question time at the end of the tour, and we were standing right in the room where the Founding Fathers had signed the Declaration of Independence, I raised my hand and asked, how many of the guys who signed the Declaration of Independence owned slaves? Miss Set moved quickly toward me with her hand out. The tour guide said, 41 out of 56 signers owned slaves. That's a great question. Thanks, I said. I'm white, so maybe this seems like a weird question, but just because I'm white doesn't mean I can't talk about what white people do wrong. We do a lot wrong. For starters, we don't think about how 73% of the signers of the Declaration of Independence owned slaves. Miss Set stopped edging toward me once the tour guide answered, but she gave me a disapproving look while she listened to the next question. Marcy Thompson asked something about why women weren't invited to the whole signing party. Predictable. Marcy is always talking about women and how they need more rights. I'd been stuck in the same class as her since 1st grade, and the whole time I thought she was okay, as long as you didn't say anything to her. Mrs. Set didn't say anything to Marcy then, or me, but I could tell she was taking notes in her head. On the bus home from Philadelphia, the teachers made us sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat like we were in 1st grade. They made us do it in 3 different groups so the singers, we could all appreciate the harmonies. Dennis and I were playing the best out of 21 tournament of Bot Duck Man. He won both games during Row, Row, Row Your Boat because I can't sing and think at the same time. Then I lost my place in the song and stayed out of sync with everyone else until I just stopped singing altogether. Marcy Thompson leaned around in the seat in front of us and chided, "You two should really pay more attention." "Are you a teacher now?" Dennis asked. "Trying to be a good friend," she said. Dennis looked like he was going to say something mean, so I said, "You're a great friend, Marcy, but you could probably be more chilled out. My mom taught me how to do that." The next chapter is going to be all about Mac's mom. and their living situation, and get more into the story of Mac and Marcy and Dennis and Miss Set and the Black Rectangles. And I highly recommend this book, and I think you're going to love it. So pick up a copy from your school library, purchase one from your favorite local indie bookstore. Mine is Birdie's Books. I have that link down in there below in case you want to buy a book from there, or always you can get it from Amazon as well, and that link is down there for you, along with links to student engagement worksheets and all sorts of amazing resources for teachers and classrooms. So check it all out, and I will see y'all here again next time for another First Chapter Friday video. Happy reading. See you next time. To continue reading Attack of the Black Rectangles by Amy Sarig King, pick up a copy from your school library, purchase one from your favorite local indie bookstore, or grab it via the link in the video description box. Then be sure to check out the rest of the First Chapter Friday playlist. I've got more than 200 middle grade and young adult novels waiting for you to listen in and pick for yourself. This week's mystery quote says, "I think life is what life is, and we just have to try our best." If that's not great advice, I don't know what is. Thanks so much for visiting my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. I hope you come back again for more First Chapter Fridays, brain breaks, direct teaching instruction videos, and more. I'll see you again next time. Happy reading.